Today we're taking ordinary thrifted finds and turning them into beautiful, patriotic home decor. Sonnet's Garden Bloom's monthly Maker's Box is a highly curated box full of paints and decoupage paper, but it's also full of inspiration to help you create outside of the box. I used simple DIY techniques, thrift store finds, and a few creative touches to make 4 high-end looking projects without spending a fortune. I'm Cindy, my husband is Chris. Welcome to CNC DIY Factory. In this project, I started with 2 thrifted wood faux books. Now, Chris and I offer wood books on our website that are bigger than these books, and I love to create with them. So I'm excited to create with these smaller books today, and I'm thinking we might have to start offering smaller sizes as well. I started with the 2 books, but I realized that I needed 3, so I grabbed another faux book from my stash to make a book stack. I am painting the fronts of the books with the DIY White Swan, and the middle size book, I will paint the entire book white. The smallest book will get a coat of the DIY Hay Sailor paint from the Maker's Box, and the 3rd book will get a fresh coat of the Marquee DIY paint that was also in the Maker's Box. If you are new to CNC DIY Factory, Chris and I are a husband and wife team who love to upcycle thrifted finds as well as offering our own DIY kits cut with our laser cutter, along with Connie Lines and Designs rice paper. And we have recently started creating and offering DTF transfers and t-shirts. You can check out our website at cncdiyfactory.com. Once I have the outside of all 3 books painted with the DIY paint, I want to refresh the pages, and for that I will use the DIY Golden Ticket Liquid Patina. For these 3 books, I am going to use the Painted Photographer's exclusive rice paper from the Maker's Box called Rooted in Freedom. I love that Connie creates a 3-up design, and I think it is perfect for this little book stack. Once I have the images cut to the size of the books, then I will use the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel as my decoupage medium. I lay the paper on the surface where I want it, and then I fold back a section and apply an even layer of the decoupage medium. Then I'll add more gel and smooth the paper down, making sure to work out any air bubbles or wrinkles, and then I'll follow the same steps across the surface for a perfect finish. After all 3 books are decoupaged and completely dry, I'll use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper around the edges, leaving a clean edge. I want to add titles to these books along the spine, and for that I will need the small stamps in the IOD Apothecary's Label stamp set. Now I line up my title on the IOD thin mount that I have cut into smaller workable sizes, and then using the IOD black ink and stamp pad I ink up my stamp. Then I carefully line up the stamp to the spine and commit. I hold the stamp with one hand while pressing gently down on the stamps with the other hand to transfer the ink, then I lift straight up for a perfect impression. I want the titles to have a little gold gilding to them, but the gold ink that I have is not permanent. So I decided to use the DIY Golden Ticket Liquid Patina because once this dries, it will not wipe off or smudge with wax. Now I'll lay down a little bit of the liquid patina on my IOD thin mount, then I'll use my brayer to smooth it out and then press the stamp into the patina and carefully line up my stamp with the black title on the spine of the books. I think this looks so good. You'll have to tell me if you have tried this technique. This small detail adds just that little bit of extra dimension and really elevates a project. DIY paint is clay-based and it must be sealed or it can be reactivated if it gets wet. I am using the DIY clear wax to seal these 3 books, and then I will follow it up with my favorite dark wax, Howard's Chalk Teak Wax in Dark, to give this book stack a more vintage vibe. I am loving how these 3 little wood faux books turned out. They are perfect for a patriotic vignette as a book stack, or you can separate them into different small areas that need just a little something special. In this project, I am using the Sweet Pickins milk paint from the Bespoke line in the color Kent, and this was in the Maker's Box. This is a beautiful faded blue color, and it was curated by Sonnet because it works well with the papers. Milk paint comes in a powder form, and you mix it with equal parts of water. I like to use warm water and a frother to mix mine. I found this watering can at a thrift store, and on the bottom there was a strip of Velcro glued to it, and it took some serious elbow grease to get it all off. Now that it is cleaned up, I want my milk paint to really grab onto this painted metal surface, and I want some beautiful crackle effect. So I'm going to apply 1 coat of Sweet Pickins Extra Bond directly to the entire outside of this watering can. The milk paint has had time to thicken up and the Extra Bond is dry, so now I will use a chip brush to apply the milk paint. The first coat is usually streaky with milk paint, but this color appears to have a lot of pigment in it and it is covering very well. So I'll dry this and show you how it looks with 1 coat before adding my second coat of milk paint. This first coat looks really good, but the watering can is very textured, so I'm going to go ahead and apply the second coat of milk paint to make sure that I have full coverage. Sonnet includes a digital press collection that you can download and print at your convenience in every Maker's Box. And this month is all about the red, white, and blue. It is called the Vintage Americana collection. There are 5 images to use, and I chose this one to work with today. I printed this on rice paper with my laser printer, and I am using the water method to tear out around the 2 images that I want to use. The torn edge gives a more organic feel to the edges of the paper, and that is the look that I am wanting for this watering can. These 2 images fit just inside the embossed grooves in the can perfectly. It's like it was made for it. To apply these labels to the can, I will place them upside down on a mylar sheet. This is just a clear cutting sheet from the dollar store. This is so that I can apply the decoupage and transfer gel to the backs of the labels. It makes it easier to pick them up, and I can easily wipe off any excess decoupage medium that will get on the mylar sheet. Then I'll place the label onto the watering can where I want it and smooth it down into all of the textured grooves in the metal. I'm using this method to try to keep from having a halo effect around the labels when I go to seal in the milk paint later. I debated on what I wanted to use to seal the milk paint. You can use any type of sealer you want, and I was originally going to use the Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax because that's my favorite, and it brings out all of the beautiful crazing in the milk paint. But I decided to go with the DIY Clear Wax. I wanted to add some rustiness to this watering can, make it look old and vintaged and used, and the DIY Decrepit Dust in Warm will be perfect. But to add this dust, it has to have the clear wax in order for it to melt into the wax and stick. A little dust goes a long way, and I don't like to waste anything, so I am using a fan brush that is dedicated just for the dust, and the lid of the container to shake off the excess. I like to start with a small amount of the dust and build up as I go. Well, I think this one is going to be hard to let go. I love how this turned out. That faded blue milk paint and the digital press images brought a whole new life to this watering can. For this project, I am using a Lazy Susan tiered tray that I bought from Target a long time ago, and I have been using this in my displays. I think it's time for a makeover. I'll start by taking this completely apart so I can easily work with the two round pieces. Then I'll add one good coat of the DIY White Swan to the tops and let that dry. For the edges of the round pieces, I am applying one coat of the Fusion Mineral paint color called Paisley. This was in the Maker's Box. The Maker's Box includes 2 exclusive decoupage papers from Recycled Treasure, and I have chosen this paper called Americana Patchwork for this project. I wanted to have the red gingham on one of the circles and the blue stripes on another, but I changed my mind and decided to go right down the middle with both designs on each circle piece. I line the paper up with the hole in the center of the circle, and then I create a crease around the outside and cut out both pieces to fit. When I am working with Royce's papers or any lighter weight paper, my favorite decoupage medium is the DIY liquid patina. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. I will lay my paper exactly where I want it on my surface, then I'll fold back a section and apply an even layer of the liquid patina. Then I'll spritz my paper with water to relax the fibers and smooth it down with my paintbrush, adding more liquid patina to the top to really secure that paper to the surface. I will work my way across the surface in sections to make sure I have all of the bubbles and wrinkles smoothed out. When the paper dries, it'll shrink up a little bit and will help smooth out any small wrinkles I may have missed. And once the paper is completely dry, I will use my finger sander with the 220 grit sandpaper and sand off the excess paper, leaving a clean, crisp edge. Once I reassemble the tiered tray, I could be done because everything is sealed in, but I want to add a little bit of age. So I'm using the DIY clear wax to the entire piece, and then I'll follow that up with the Howard's Chalk Teak Wax in dark. Then I'll use a lint-free cloth and wipe away the excess wax. I really like how the dark wax has aged that paisley paint color. Let me know in the comments what you think about using both of the designs on the circles. I think it adds a little extra interest to it. In this project, I am using a wood blank that I bought a while back from Amazon. You could use either side depending on the look you are wanting. I am using the flat side for this project. I'll start by adding one coat of the DIY White Swan. For the edges of this wood blank, I am using the second Fusion Mineral paint from the Maker's Box. This color is called Winchester, and it is a beautiful deep red. I will apply one coat all the way around the wood blank. The second exclusive rice paper from the Painted Photographer is called Stars, Stripes, and Summer Blooms. All of Connie's rice papers are hand-drawn and painted using DIY paints, and this one is beautiful. I used the water tear method again to even up the size of this paper to fit just inside of the wood blank. I felt this needed just a little something, so I grabbed my IOD Waltz stamp and my stone gray ink. I want to add just a subtle image of music to the background before applying the rice paper, so it'll just peek through a little bit and not overpower the beautiful image, but add more depth. So I ink up the stamp really well and then center it over the board and commit. I hold one hand still and apply light pressure with my other hand to transfer the ink to the board. Then I lift straight up for a perfect impression. Then I will lay my rice paper on the board, and following the same process as I did previously, I will apply the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel to adhere the rice paper to the front of the board. I love how the waltz stamp with the stone gray ink shows through the rice paper, giving it just that little bit of depth that I was wanting. Then to frame this up nicely, I will use the same Winchester paint color and a small artist brush and add some of the paint in a smudged fashion around the outside edge. What a perfect piece to add to a vignette or stand alone on a side or entry table. Let me know what you think of this project. Let's take one final look at all 4 projects together. Each piece can stand beautifully on its own as a statement decor item, or it can be layered into a vignette for the perfect patriotic touch. If you want to have your own maker's box delivered to your door every month, I will have a link in the description box below where you can skip the wait list to sign up. And don't forget to go check out the link to watch all of the creatives in Sonnet's membership group who create videos every month to provide more inspiration. Go check them out and tell them CNC sent you. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hype this video. Then join me for more DIYs, vintage-inspired projects, and creative ideas right here on our channel. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and until next time, keep practicing random acts of crafting, and I'll see you in the next DIY. But until then, here are some more DIY videos to inspire your creativity.